Hey you guys, I hope you're doing well. This video is on pruning grapes. Now, I definitely am not the most experienced. I helped a couple times in the orchard back in college pruning the grapes, and I've only grown them here for a few years, but I'm just going to document it, show you what I'm going to do. So here is the chicken run, and I have a few grapes growing. There's Ison, there is, that one's 1 year older than the other three, and then there's a Carlos on this corner right here going up. In this back corner back here, that in the middle right there is Black Beauty, and then over here this one is Darlene, and they all made some grapes last year. Ison was the most productive because it was older, but Darlene was the tastiest. And I'm growing over the chicken run because I want to give the chickens some shade during the summer. It gets really hot here in Houston, even though it's not hot right now. And so they got this half. The other half of the chicken run goes to this big old Pakistan mulberry, which is a really great tree. And hopefully it doesn't get any freeze damage from this really hard freeze coming up. Hard for us. So basically grapes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take off a lot of material. That's really the name of the game, is just to reduce the amount of vine that there is, and that will put a lot of energy into vegetative growth after the flowering. So you'll have these flowers right where you want them, and there will be plenty of vegetative growth to feed into it. The other reason for pruning grapes is to keep the grapes close by where you can pick them easier instead of up at the top of the tree. And so pretty much I'll take one more before look. It's kind of cloudy, tangly mess on this side. All right, you guys, here's the other grapevine on the property, and here I think I can show you a little bit better the structure and what I'm going for. So here I did a lot of training the first year to get it to this nice shape, and I gave it a wire to go across. This is going to kind of shade the kitchen out. And here I want to prune back to just one of these. Look, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got, too many. I'm going to go just choose one, whichever is the strongest. They all kind of ran this way, and go back to it. And I probably could have done a little tipping earlier, but one thing I learned from experience was that you don't want to do any heavy pruning on grapes in our hot summer, late summer. They can bleed out, or at least grapes that aren't under irrigation. So this branch has got to go, the one going up through the roof. And then on this side, I'll probably just take this long one, pick the strongest, and then trim everything else off. So that's the first pruning, is pruning for the structure. And then after the structure, what I'm gonna have are these guys. So you see these little guys? And they literally about every 4 inches. All right, I'm probably gonna take out, well, if you're in a production orchard, you take out like every other one. So you just space it out a little more. I don't know if I'm even pointing the right way. So I would take out one of these, and they'll be pointed upwards as well. And then if these are longer, so this is not a vine with a lot of vigor. So if these were longer and shooting up, or then I could also take them down. So I'd, have these little spurs about every 8 to 12 inches, 6 to 12 inches, and then I'd shorten them down. So I'm basically reducing it, but leaving some good flowering zones for regrowth, if that makes sense. So structure first, you can do your bigger cuts that way, and then after that you start worrying about getting it spaced out. But it'll shrink down a ton, and then it'll just explode in the spring. So for us here in Houston, we want to trim them as late as you can in the winter, because you don't want them coming out early. And the chickens are helping me out. All right, you guys, so here's what I did with the grape. As you can see, I took it to one cordon, I think is what they're called, lateral on each side. So I had to get rid of all those nice little spur shoots off of this guy, and I kind of regretted that. Here's where the other one was. I could have trimmed these other ones back. I could have kept it at one by doing some more routine pruning. So I think really in the first 2 years for these grapevines, they should be visited once or twice a month to make sure that you're directing your foundation the way you want it to be, so that it didn't have to be so severe. And this one down here, it was bleeding, so I just tried an experiment with just covering it with some parafilm real quick. And so this one we'll probably try and set a few fruit, but not much. It's mainly just about getting that structure integrity in place, because hopefully these two laterals will really swell up this next year and put on a lot of good growth. And over here on the chicken run, I decided to get some feedback and do less pruning. So I think in a standard conventional orchard, it's really highly managed, you know, and here I actually appreciate the cover that it provides for the chickens, and I want to see what it'll produce. So this is under pruned. I basically pulled off the velvet bean and did a few snips, but because it was just kind of inconvenient to take it all out, I'll show you guys basically what it looks like. So there is some structure here, you know, there's some structure that was there, and I did some pruning, but it's very dense still, a little bit cluttered and everything. And the conventional wisdom is to take these all the way down to 1 or 2 little spurs, so reducing to make the more leaves to flower ratio. But I'm not going to do that. Look at all those buds. There's going to be a lot of potential flower points, so fruiting points, and you know, we'll see. I'll get some feedback. So maybe it produces a little bit less smaller grapes or something like that, but here I just want to keep the chickens all covered, and I want to keep them, you know, small size doesn't really matter because a lot of the fruit can go to the birds anyway. So hope you guys got something out of that, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace. Bye.